A bargaining council is voluntarily established by trade unions and employer associations working together to agree on wage conditions of employment and how employment disputes are resolved, etc. Companies that are members of an employer association and whose employees are members of a respective trade union are automatically considered to be parties to that bargaining council and are affected by any agreement reached. Now maybe you, like 60 to 70% of other companies in that same sector, who have not chosen to be members of an association and whose employees are not members of those trade unions, find it difficult to understand why sometimes you find yourself automatically joined to those bargaining councils, paying them fees and having to fit in with their wage rates and keep to their conditions of employment, which are prescribed to you. You have no choice. Now, in this respect, you would be referred to as a non-party, a company which doesn't want to associate with an employer association or with a trade union, and which doesn't want to subject itself to a bargaining council. But no, why respect the Constitution and your freedom of association or disassociation? How you move from not being subject to a bargaining council to being sucked into having to comply with the bargaining council agreement is when these parties to the bargaining council manage to convince the Minister of Labour to unilaterally, which means without consultation with you, the affected party, to extend that bargaining council agreement to cover you. Initially created between those people that want to play, to affect you and your company who have no wish to play. This is what is called an extension of a bargaining council agreement to non-parties. Let's look at a recent example of how this has affected a client of mine. Small company, one of 400, which are not members of a bargaining council, pays 35 Rand an hour to accepting employees. The 17 large companies which are part of that bargaining council have agreed to pay 65 Rand an hour in that council's agreement. 30 Rand difference. That's 85% wage increase. Now the minister extends that agreement, signed by the 17 large companies, to cover the 400 non-party companies in that same industry. Why? Is it because the trade unions were so strong that they bullied the 17 companies into an 85% increase on their wage bill? Highly unlikely. It's more likely that the companies and the trade unions have colluded with one another to damage the non-parties in that industry and potentially force them out of business so that they can monopolize the sector. And the minister has to be complicit. He signed the extension of that agreement to the non-parties, even though he says he didn't have a choice in the process.